It was a night like any other when I decided to take the long way home after a late shift at the restaurant. The moon hung low, casting an eerie glow on the winding country roads that cut through the dense forest. I should have taken the main highway, but there was something attractive about the isolation of the back roads. I didn't know that this decision would lead me into a nightmare. As I drove, the hum of the engine was a soothing balm against the oppressive silence of the night. The trees loomed like dark sentinels, their twisted branches reaching out as if trying to claw at my car. I turned up the radio, seeking comfort in the familiar tunes, but the static that crackled in response made my skin crawl. I fiddled with the dial, hoping to find something, anything, but the airwaves were dead. A sense of unease began to settle in my gut. I brushed it off, convincing myself it was just the darkness playing tricks on my mind. I pressed on, the road stretching endlessly ahead, illuminated only by the faint beam of my headlights. It was then that I noticed the figure on the side of the road. A woman standing alone, shrouded in the shadows. My heart raced. I considered passing by, but something about her demeanor made me slow down. She wore a tattered white dress, and her long hair hung like a curtain over her face. As I drew closer, I could see her pale hands clasped tightly around her arms, shivering in the cool night air. I rolled down the window, the night breeze creeping in. "Are you okay?" I asked, my voice shaky. She didn't respond immediately, only glanced up. Her eyes, dark and hollow, sent a chill racing down my spine. "I need a ride," she said softly, her voice almost drowned by the rustling leaves. Against my better judgment, I unlocked the door. She climbed in without a word, her presence filling the car with an unsettling energy. I stole glances at her as we drove. There was something off about her, the way she sat so rigidly, her gaze fixed ahead, almost as if she were staring into another world. "Where are you headed?" I asked, trying to break the silence. "Home," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. The road began to twist and turn, the trees closing in around us. I could feel the tension rising in the car, like a coiled spring ready to snap. I turned to her, wanting to ask more, but my words caught in my throat. Her face had changed, a grimace replacing her earlier placid expression. Suddenly, the headlights flickered and the engine sputtered. I cursed under my breath, desperately trying to keep the car going. "Come on, don't do this now," I pleaded. The engine roared back to life, but the lights dimmed again, casting an ominous shadow over the road. "Turn back," she said suddenly, her voice more urgent. "What? Why?" I asked, bewildered. "Turn back," she shouted, and I could see her reflection in the rearview mirror. A look of sheer terror had taken over her face. I pressed my foot down harder on the gas, hoping to get away from whatever she sensed. The road ahead became more twisted, and I swerved as I struggled to keep control. My heart raced as I noticed something in the woods, a figure indistinct and lurking among the trees. Panic flooded my mind. Was it just my imagination, or was there something following us? "Keep going," she urged, but her tone shifted again, dark and commanding. I looked at her, confusion mixing with fear. The girl was no longer the lost soul I had picked up. She had transformed into something sinister. The headlights flickered one last time before going out completely, plunging us into darkness. The only sound was the frantic thump of my heart and the tires skidding against gravel. I fumbled for my phone, the screen illuminating the car momentarily. I glanced at her, and what I saw made me scream. Her mouth was stretched wide, too wide for any human, revealing rows of jagged teeth that glimmered in the dark. "Stop!" she shrieked, and I slammed on the brakes, the car skidding to a halt. The silence that followed was deafening. My breath was shallow, fear coursing through me like ice. "Get out!" she commanded, her voice now a low growl. I froze, the fight or flight instinct battling within me, but I had to escape. I yanked the door open and stumbled out into the cool night air, my legs shaky beneath me. The woods loomed around, an abyss of shadows. "Run!" she hissed, and before I could comprehend her words, I took off into the darkness, branches clawing at my arms and face as I fled. I didn't look back. I couldn't. I heard her laughter behind me, high-pitched and haunting, echoing through the trees. Every step felt like a mile as I pushed myself harder, adrenaline fueling my flight. I stumbled over roots, fell to the ground but scrambled back up, my lungs burning. Finally, I broke through the tree line and onto the main road. I spotted headlights in the distance, a vehicle approaching. I ran towards it, waving my arms frantically. The car screeched to a halt, and a middle-aged man stepped out, confusion etched on his face. "What the hell happened?" he asked, but before I could answer, a chill swept over me. The woods behind me were alive with whispers, the girl's laughter still echoing in my ears. I started, but the words caught in my throat. I turned to look back, and there she was, standing at the edge of the trees, a sinister grin on her face, her hollow eyes glinting with hunger. "Drive!" I screamed, and without hesitation, the man jumped back into his car, slamming the door. The engine roared to life as he peeled away, leaving the road behind. As we sped off into the night, I looked back one last time. The girl was gone, swallowed by the shadows. But I knew deep down that I would never truly escape her. The woods would always hold her secrets, and I would be forever haunted by the darkness of that midnight drive.